Alright, Jim's Junkies, welcome back. New episode, new wound. I was wiggling a radius arm mount that I plasma cut off the Jimny off after I said I was going to stop work. Should have, didn't. Snapped it off and it went into my head. So, nice little wound there for you all to look at throughout this video. But today, I am going to get this diff underneath the Jimny. Yesterday when I said I was going to stop work and I didn't, this is what I did. So I started clearancing the section of radius arm mount where the new ones are going to go, and I just wanted to keep, I'm not going to cut the whole thing off because I want to keep this bolt hole as a reference point as opposed to marking up whatever. It's just going to be super easy for me to measure off that hole 80mm forward. So what I'm doing today, first off, is, so you can see that I've cleaned up the chassis paint and the thick stuff there to expose these welds. So I'm going to be running my grinder along those welds, along the bottom side here, there's one at the front of that plate, and then slicing along through this plate here, being careful to watch my depth and not touch the chassis. I won't go all the way through this plate, I'll just get it thin enough that I can wiggle it off and snap it. You can see I got a start on it yesterday, so that's where I'm at. We got there. Little tip, when you're trying to remove something like this, like a sheet that's on top of something you want to not touch, see these discolorations here? I couldn't get it all with a cutting wheel, so I was grinding with a flappy, and you grind until you see these heat marks, and that tells you that that metal is really thin. If you look for that, you know that you're still on that metal that you want to remove, and it's probably going to be weak enough to cold chisel out. So there is a fair bit of weld still up here, but again I've thinned that out and I've put a bit of a cut there, so we'll see if this will come off as it is. See how that's just gripping because it's so thin? Oh, swinging this hammer is one of the harder parts of this. Sounding pretty solid there. There's a fair bit of weld. So the thing with weld is, if I come at, I'm not going to smack through it, but if I can free up this side and then pry that away, that sort of goes against the strength of steel and welding. Boy. Oh man, still a fair bit of material in this corner here, so I'm probably not going to get through that. What I'm going to do is cut this off and just flappy that down till it's wafer thin, like I just showed you. Look for that discoloration and then cold chisel that off. So George, get away mate, you're gonna get sprayed. that. No. Well, I hope that hasn't impacted the video quality. There's a couple specks on the lens. It's about unsurprising that happened. But so I've flappied that down, and you can see that this section here, I might even be able to just pick it off with my finger. Yeah, see? It was so thin, and the discoloration told me that. And obviously haven't touched this. So there we are. Now I'm going to go back and remove the rest of this weld that's left on the outside here and on these sides. Clean all this up. And then repeat the process over there. Alright, so one side of the chassis is prepped and ready. There we have it. All the weld removed, all the rust that had built up between the plates over the years removed. So I've got a nice clean pad ready for the new radius arm mount to go on. So now repeat the process over there, and I'm not going to film any of that because, you know, you just saw how it goes, and it's slow and tedious and getting covered in grinding dust, and the poor GoPro is too. So I'll check back in when that one's done, hey? Alright, so second area is now prepped, so both sides are prepped. So almost ready to pull this diff out. But first, I need to weld out these mounts, because once they're rolled under, I'm going to tuck it in place, and these aren't coming out. So it's pretty exciting. I'm going to have it under today. Boy, I feel like with this thing on my face, I feel like Whistling Diesel, you know? He's just always got that fucking red dot on his face that people stare at. But yeah, so I'm going to cut out a spacer, bolt these up so they don't warp, and yeah, and weld them inside and out, and start dismantling that. Woohoo! I've now got spacer in here, it's bolted just to prevent any distortion. Down this tack in the middle. Good penetration there. I can see the weld just peeping through on the inside, which is great. Right, one done. Alright, so I've cleaned these up, dressed them a little bit. Obviously haven't blended all the weld in, there's no point. I just wanted to radius the corners a fraction, cleaned up the spatter on the inside. Now, ready for a lick of paint. So the diff is ready to come out. It's a bit crazy. It's all happening. So whew. There you have it. Whew. There we go. Springs, spring mounts look the same. At a glance, panhard looks similar at a glance. Whew, let's go. So I've pulled out the handbrake cables because, and obviously I didn't just cut them. Did think about it, but I thought I ought not to. Brake, hose. Let's have a look at this diff. Okay, so the radius arms are bolted on. A quick measure from end to end tells me that those two ends, or that these are the same distance apart as those. So that's a good start. We're gonna land on the chassis in the right spot. But pretty nervous. It's gonna be a bit tricky too, rolling this under. I wanna keep the wheels on it, but I'm not sure if those, I might just whip those guards off actually. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Well, I'm stoked. This is super cool to see. And another crazy thing is that diff is the same bolt pattern as the drive shaft. So that's pretty bloody cool. All right, so one of the mounts, the other side may need some minor tweaking, but this mount is like, that's ready to tack. Yeah. It's ready to attach. That's, oh mate, so wild. So wild. So I'm gonna get to it. There's a bit of a gap on that back side. So I'll probably tack this, and then it's just pushing this side of that bracket up. So I'll tack that and then push this side up with the jack. But yeah, holy dooly, let's go. Let's go. We're on, baby. The camera's gonna die any minute now, but you know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go around and tack it, measure, keep measuring, tack it. All right, well that's one bracket tacked on. Just gonna repeat the same thing on the other side, pull the jack over, measure, pretty much mirror this one now. The spacing on the chassis, all that stuff, all that technical jargon. Just gonna chuck the GoPro on charge and come back once it's tacked on. Yep, the drive shaft bolted up. There's the diff itself is obviously like, it's bigger in every aspect, so it was about, I think it was 20 or 30 mil longer from center line of the diff housing out here. So there may not be enough movement in this joint. It might, like this slip joint, whatever they're called, so it might bottom out. But you know, I'll work that out in due course. I'm just absolutely stoked that this thing's gonna dry. I don't have to chop this and take a section out. That's sort of what I had planned. Yeah, it's not bolted in, but there's 4 bolts sitting in that. So that's just bloody crazy. Far out. Unreal. Oh. Well, I'm a mess. Mentally and physically exhausted, but I'm so stoked. Wow. Wow. Cool. Well, that's gonna wrap up this episode, I reckon. I need to put all my tools away because it's Sunday and I have a job Monday morning, which is a shame. Otherwise I'd just leave them all out. Well, chuck them in the shed and forget about them, but can't do that. So yeah. Wow, I'm not good at wrapping these things up, am I? I'll let me know your thoughts, as always, on both the video and what I'm doing and that sort of stuff. If you have any feedback, hit me up, let me know. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next episode.